And I think giving people a purpose inside the operation and identifying that purpose through those people, like, I think that's what helped me get to the growth that we got to.
Chad Peterman here, and you are listening to Can't Stop the Growth, a platform for leaders and teams to grow and thrive. We highlight the importance of personal development, pursuing greatness, and always chasing your potential. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Can't Stop the Growth. I'm your host, Chad Peterman, and today I have on my good friend. So excited to talk with him. Always a wealth of knowledge, has helped me. I've learned a ton from him. And we have a group that we're always trading secrets and different things that are helping and trying to help each other out. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the podcast Ismael Valdez. What's up, buddy?
Mr. Chad Peterman, aka Pastor Chad.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ish. Why don't you start off by giving people a little bit of background if they haven't heard of you and your amazing story that I still think about quite often because it is truly amazing.
I try not to think too much of the story, but it is a pretty dope story, man. I was born in Mexico, got here when I was 5 years old, guys. Been in the air conditioning and heating trades for about now 15 years, man. 15 years. For those of you who don't know, I used to own Next Gen Air Conditioning Heating, which is one of the largest heating and air conditioning companies over here in California. We just got acquired by the Wrench Group, probably almost going on 2 years, Mr. Peterman. I'm about to go on 2 years this May, I think. So hell of a journey, guys. I'll take it back to when I was working at a supply house called Howard Industry. I was there for about 8 years, got into the trades through a supply house where they used to sell American Standard. Started a couple businesses with different partners, didn't work out. And then we just started, we started Nexion in 2016, man. So, I owned Nexion for about 8 years before private equity acquired us. But it was a very, very fast paced growth. We went from zero, literally no employees, to $110 million in 8 years, which was a pretty dope ass story. So
yeah, for sure. So I think the biggest thing that I've always been inspired by in you and your story is, the growth is one thing, but I think the way that you did it and the focus you put on your people is the thing that I think is the recipe and what others can learn from. So tell me a little bit about like your philosophy on, building the culture and building the people within your organization.
Well, I'll tell you, prior of 2019. So I owned the business Nexion with about 8 years. 3 to 4 of those years, I probably was in the same position that most of you guys were in. Most of the contractors were in, which was complaining about people not working and complaining about people not wanting to come and apply, and and just the traditional complaints that everybody had, that nobody wanted to work for me kind of complaint. Prior to 2019, man, I was always negotiating labor. And that's the one thing that sticks out when people ask me about our culture and how we recruit people and how now everybody wants to work for Nexion. And luckily we don't spend a dollar on recruiting, we don't spend a dollar on marketing for employment, and we still have tons of people wanting to work here. So, but prior to 2019, man, I was negotiating labor, and that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I did, Chad. Negotiating labor, meaning people would come into my office and apply for an install position, for a tech position, for whatever position was available or whatever position they came in to apply for. And it was always a negotiation for labor. And the one thing I learned from Leland Smith was to pay people more. Now, in 2019, that was when my mindset changed. Prior to that, people were coming in and, installers were coming in and asking for, $25, $30 an hour. And I would always tell them, well, how about we start at 24 or 23 or 22? Thinking that I was the one paying for the labor, thinking that, me paying them less would add to the bottom line. I thought that negotiating the labor meant that I get to keep more money for the profit. And let me tell you one thing, guys, it is 100% not true of trying to penny pinch the labor force and your personnel, right? So Leland comes into my mind just because he had probably one of the most oiled, most best companies that I've ever known. And when I sat down with him for the first time, I asked him, I'm like, Leland, how do you retain and how do you acquire all these like high level people. Like, at the time he was doing like, I want to say like 50, 60 million. And I was like in the $30 million range. And I was trying to learn from him. And I finally, after months and months of talking to him, of trying to get a hold of him, I finally got a hold of him. And our first conversation was about labor. I'm like, how do you retain people? Where do you get all your people? And, how do you pay your people? And I'll never forget when he told me, he's like, look, Ishmael, we never hire from other companies just because we don't want people to come in here with bad habits. So we groom our own people. We get them out of school. We find them at a different trade, or they're bartenders or whatever they're doing at the time. We find them there. We bring them in house and we train them, and we have a process and an academy. And not everybody makes it. He told me not everybody makes it through our process, but we're able to keep and retain the best people that make it through the process. And we offer them something that nobody else offers them. We offer them the better pay. We offer them a better company culture. We offer better benefits. We offer them vacation time. We offer them family time. We offer them all that. And I asked them, I'm like, how do you offer them better pay? And this is the one thing that I've always, that has stuck with me for about 4 or 5 years now. I'm like, how do you offer them better pay? Like, I'm trying to figure out how I could pay them more if I can't, I can't seem to charge more. And he's like, that's your problem right there. You think you can't charge more. You need to stop thinking that you can't charge people more. You need to build more value into what you're providing, raise your prices, and that's going to give you in return more profit so you can pay your people. So it's a little cycle of money that runs through it. Once he explained to me that process, because remember, in 2019, I was super ignorant. I didn't even know what a P&L was. So once he explained the process of like, hey, you're not the one paying for this. The customer's paying for it. So the only way that you're able to pay your people more is if you charge more. And once he explained that process to me, I started doing steady increases of pricing, steady increases of value too, right? So, because you can't just go from a $10,000 package to a $15,000 package without adding more value to the package. Better warranties, better guarantees, better, processes, more availability for your customers, faster response for your customers, same day install, like all the things that he was offering, I started providing more value for. In return, I started charging more, and then I started seeing more money on the bottom line. And that's how I started recruiting way more people. People would come in the door, and the first thing I would tell them, like if it was a high level sales guy, a high level technician, whatever it was, I would tell them like, hey, look, man, no matter what position you're here for, obviously if they're good people and the interview went well, I would always end it with like, nobody's going to pay you more the next gen. Nobody's going to pay you more. Nobody, like whatever you're getting paid, we're going to pay you more, right? We just need you in return to take care of our client better, right? And ever since that conversation with Leland, I think it was in 2019, 2020, when he told me, when he kind of explained and dumbed it down for me, actually, he dumbed it down of, hey, you're not really paying for this. Your customer's the one paying for it. And in order for you to pay more, to acquire better talent, you need to pay people more. But the only way you can pay people more is if you charge more. And that's when things click to me. So yeah, retaining and recruiting has been a huge success for us, but it's because of those fundamentals. We're paying more. We're treating people better, right? We're giving them more value for when they come into Nexion, and we're providing a way better culture than anybody.
Yeah, and I want you to talk a little bit about that, because you've sent a couple pictures here lately, kind of the refocus for 24 and what you're doing. To me, while you are known for saying, hey, we pay people more, to me, the secret ingredient behind all of that is the level of care that you have for your people. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing and what you've done, and all of those things, because I think that's super important when it comes to providing value for your people.
So once the people know that you're paying better, once the message starts spreading out that, hey, Nexion's paying better than anybody, Nexion is, they have work all year round. Like the second thing that you guys got to start building on, like, yeah, the pay plans, you got to simplify them. Yeah, the way you pay the people, you got to simplify. You got to be able to explain it to them properly, where anybody could figure out how much you're getting paid. So that's one key to the recruits. The second key is the culture. And I hear this in every single company. Oh, my culture is amazing. My culture is amazing. What are you really doing for your internal clients, right? Your internal clients, meaning your employees, your team members. What are you really doing that's setting you apart from them? Like, not just the better pay, because everybody else is finding out that if you pay better, you're going to acquire better people, right? So it's the walking in the shop in the morning with donuts. It's the having your managers, do one-on-one lunches with your personnel, pulling people to the side that are having bad days, like having a structured management team that identifies weaknesses inside the operation and inside people. Like sometimes we forget our employees are human beings. Like they have bad days at home. They have bad days at work. Some of them are going through personal. Identifying like when they're going into a slump, or identifying like they're having personal problems and pulling them out to the side and spending some one-on-one time with them, going to breakfast with them, and grabbing some coffee and letting them vent out about the company or about their personal problem. Like all those little things is what I mean by our culture, by the type of culture that we built here, right? Going inside the meetings and celebrating the wins, right? Like we have employee of the month for every year for different KPIs inside the operation. And most companies, what they do is, they set out a goal, they set out a bounty, or they'll forget about it. They don't celebrate it. If whoever wins, they just hand them a check and, hey, let's get back to work. Like we make it a priority once a month to bring in the whole tech team, the whole sales team, the whole install team in different times. And we celebrate a win for them. Whether it was tech of the month or most revenue for the technician department or the sales department or most installed, like all that, we bring them in. We do these dope ass trophies with their names on it, company name, what they won, what was the KPI that they won for, and we celebrate in front of their peers. Dude, that is the one thing that I'm going to tell everybody that has impacted the company probably the most this year since I started doing it more often this year. Is making sure you celebrate your peers and making sure you celebrate in front of their teams, because then they get the sense of respect from their teams. Then they get the sense of of recognition from their team. And the one thing that is better than money for our teammates is recognition from their peers. Let me tell you that again. The one thing that people love more than money is making sure that all the company, their team members, whether they're the sales department, the tech department, the install department, the CSR department, which we all oversee, the in-house support team, the accounting team, production, the purchasing team, like making sure you celebrate every single aspect of the operation is what's making NextGen become, one of the best companies out there. Making sure that you celebrate every single win in front of their peers and bring them on stage. We have a badass training room with a stage and speakers and TVs and everything. And we bring them on stage and we let them talk to their peers every time we celebrate something. Those little things, Chad, is what's like churning the whole company around of like, hey man, like this is a dope ass place to work at.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of our one of our main initiatives of this year is just celebrate more. It sounds silly, right? There's all these other things that you need to focus on and different drivers of the business, but to me, I 100% agree is celebrate more. I've just been walking around asking people, how do we celebrate more? There's a lot of people running around here, but how do we what do you want to do? And some people are like, I want a 3-minute video. Everybody wants something different, but I think your point is spot on when it comes to just celebrating this stuff. Have fun.
What's one of the things that I noticed too? Like before it was like money, 2022, 2023, like let's give people more money. Let's give them raises. Like what started happening is we started spoiling too much, right? They started turning us to spoiled brats where it's like, it's not just about money. Now, like I'll throw in a bounty for the CSRs. I'll walk into the CSR department chat and I'll be like, hey guys, we need plumbing calls. We only have 1 or 2 calls per technician. We need to book them a full board for today. Whoever books the most opportunity plumbing calls today gets a paid day off tomorrow or paid day off on Friday, where now they make it a 3-day weekend for them. Bro, let me tell you something. A paid day off for a CSR, for an installer, for a technician, where they can go out there, run their errands, go to Target, go to the DMV. They've been wanting to go to the doctor. They've been wanting to go, have lunch with their mom. Like all those little things, a paid day off. I've noticed that people will take that over, here's $250. Go out there and, spend it with whatever you want to do. A paid day off and having them, catch up on errands, because you got to understand, most of these people are full-time people. They're working from 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to whatever. So they don't have that much time to go out there and do personal stuff. They need to go to the DMV. They need to, go to Target. They're running to Target at 8, 9 p.m. Like when they should be at home making dinner, having some family time. Having a paid day off, man, has probably one of the most impacted things that have happened here at NextGen, besides the money part, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of those are great things, and I think anybody listening that's how do I get these people more engaged? How do I attract people? I always say like if you're having trouble attracting people to your place, it may be a you problem,
Yep,
not a everybody else problem.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, do people want to come and work there, or is it, well, I have a job. Why doesn't anybody want to work? It's like, well, okay, they may not want to work at a place that sucks. Um, what are you guys focused on? What's 24 like? Obviously, we went through 23. It was different than the prior years. What are you guys focused on this year?
Look at 23 was a bad year for next gen. I kind of disconnected myself from next gen. I have a bunch of ventures going on between Nuva and DataCube and Legacy Roofing Company, and I bought some restaurants, and I'm doing too much where next gen was kind of in the back burner, and we had a bad year because of that. I think the one thing that I'm focused on 2024 is our customer service. Our customer service kind of took a hit on it just because everybody was so focused on numbers, KPIs, money, revenue, sales. Like everybody's so number driven right now because of all these private equities coming into our space, and private equity, uh, you know, as bad as it seems, like private equity needs to report their financials to their investors, and their investors need to see healthy numbers, right? So they're always pushing revenue, they're always pushing numbers, numbers, numbers. And I think that's one of the main things that hurt us in 2023, Chad, that everybody was so number driven. Everybody was so focused on like, hey, we got to have a higher average ticket. Our closing percentages got to go up. Our booking percentages, like all those things were so focused and so laser driven that people kind of lost touch of why do we need a higher average ticket, or why should we be booking more calls? Like, I think 2023 taught me that like the numbers are one thing, and numbers, like, yeah, they're important to your business. Let's not forget the most important thing in our business is our people, loving our people, taking care of them, not just handing them everything and spoiling them, like actually holding them accountable, sitting and spending time with them, spending energy with them, and letting them know that, hey, I need you to focus on our client, right? Whatever the case is, whatever you need us to do as an employer, like, we're here for you. We're here for you. If you need a day off, we're here for you. If you want to have a one-on-one with us, if you need to vent out about something, if you're having personal problems, like, we're here for you in that aspect. In return, we still need you to take care of our clients. I think in 2023, what hurt us and what hurt the industry, period, especially the big private equity groups that I'm going to be honest with you, 99% of them are hurting because they're so number driven. They forgot that the most important thing in the operation is the people. And if we take care of our people, not just money wise, not just compensating them and giving them and spoiling them, if we take care of our people, genuinely care about them, and remind them how much we love them, they're going to take care of our client. And if they take care of our client, it becomes profit at the end of the day. We forgot we were just taking care of the client, and we started pushing numbers through our people, and everybody's a number, and we need 250,000 from you, and we need 1 million from you. Like, everything was so numbers that we forgot. And that's what hurt us in 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and especially the bigger you get, I was telling somebody this the other day, like you have to catch yourself. Like it still needs to be fun. Like data is great, 100%. You need to know where you're at, where you're heading, all of those things. But you can get caught up in just chasing the numbers, and you make decisions that you wouldn't make normally because you're just chasing a number. And it's like you just have to you got to love the process and know that, hey, we're not going to be perfect, never will be. As I always say, the budget was somewhat an arbitrary number that we threw out there. Now we need to go chase it and need to make sure all the numbers line up for sure. But to your point, we've got to make sure that we take care of the people. We're celebrating their success. We are growing them, because at the end of the day, when we grow the people, the rest usually takes care of itself.
So, to answer your question, we're focused on the customer. This year, we're focused on making sure our customer experience is flowing properly, focusing, making sure our customer satisfaction is higher than it was in 2023. And we're focused on making sure we're growing our people for sure, man, because I think that you hit it right on the button. There becomes a stage in each company, and there becomes a time in the journey where you get stuck, or profit's not there, or revenue's not there, or sales are like, and we all start panicking and we all start making decisions based on the numbers instead of like, hey guys, I think the way we grow and from this stage forward, or I think the way we keep pushing forward is we develop our people. We develop our people and then we bring in more people that are smarter than us, that are, essentially helping us in different sectors of the business that we might not have visibility on, right? But definitely you hit it right on the button, man. Growing our people is probably what I would advise. Grow your people, mentor them, do management trainings, do those tedious things that make people better. So then in return, they could hand our customers a better experience.
I want to go back a little bit because I think that I've heard you share, and I think it's important for people to know. Tell us a little bit about like those early years. What were the things like looking back now? You created an unbelievable company, but take us back to those first couple of years. What were some of the things that you look back now and like, God, I really wish I would have known that. It would have been a whole lot easier to get there. That you can share with people that are maybe just starting out, or maybe struggling, maybe in a rough spot and they can't figure out how to jump over that $5 million hurdle or $10 million hurdle. What were some of the things that as you look back you would say, hey, these are the things I wish I would have known?
Two things come to mind when you ask me that, Chad. The first thing is I wish I would have known that I didn't have to price myself based on my competition. I didn't have to price myself based on the market. I didn't have to price myself based on what others were doing. At the time, I was too ignorant. Obviously, I'm 28 years old. When I started, I was 27 years old, going on 28, I was just trying to make a couple bucks on the install side. I wasn't even trying to build this huge monster until I started seeing the ball, roll. And I said, hey man, I probably have a good shot at building something dope here. But I wish I would have known that I didn't have to compare myself to others. I didn't have to, hey, he's selling Trey, now I got to sell Trey, or he's selling Lennox, I got to sell Lennox. Like, I wish I would have known, like, hey, let's focus on next gen and let's focus, let me learn what, like the business side of it, right? Not charging based on my competition was one of the biggest mistakes I made, because I was doing, I'm sure you were doing it too when you started, Chad, and I'm sure every mom and pop shop are doing it out there. We were doing $5,000 to $6,000 change outs, train premium products. It wasn't like we were installing a cheap Goodman or a cheap York or like those cheap Guardian lines. Like we were installing a Train or Lennox sometimes for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. And at the time I was just like, man, there's $500 left. There's $1,000 left on the job. And not knowing that, later on we need to account for warranties. Later on we need to account for future liabilities. Later on we need to account for growth. Later on we need to account for the reinvestment of marketing. Later on we need to account for, growth into the vehicles, getting more vehicles and all that. Like, I wish I would have known pricing myself based on my competition was a mistake. The one thing that it did give, that was the downside to it. The upside to it, I was pricing myself into our competition, but creating more value. So I was winning more of those bids. In return, I was setting the foundation of like, hey, recruiting installers, recruiting technicians, recruiting sales guys. Like, the early stages was the fun stages of recruitment because I could do whatever I want, right? But if I would have priced myself a little bit higher, I think I would have even done faster. I would have even done a faster growth, or maybe it would have hurt me in the long run. But I wish I would have known pricing myself based on my competition was a mistake. Number two mistake that I would have done, that I wish I would have done, not negotiating the labor, man. I still look back and I lost some badass installers for a couple bucks, that were coming in the door. And now I look back and they were really good, genuinely good installers. They know how to speak English and Spanish. They know how to run a job from start to finish. I lost some really good technicians too. I could have hired some badass project managers back in the day, some office personnel too, some badass customer service. When I was negotiating the labor, like they wanted $25. I was like, how about we start at 23 or 22 or 20, and then we'll get you to 25. Like, I wish I would have not been so ignorant of not knowing that I'm not the one paying for this. It's our customers that are paying for this experience. So then I wouldn't have let some of those dope ass people go, not just because they would have helped me in the business, Chat, just because those people would have taught me something in my journey. And I feel like I missed out on some of those, lessons because I was trying to be cheap with people, or I was trying to negotiate the labor. I wish I wouldn't have done that, because I believe that God sends people into my life to teach me something, right? And those people in there at the early stages of next gen going in there and applying would have taught me something. Maybe a project manager would have taught me something about gross profit, whatever it was. I missed out on those early lesson opportunities. And then looking back, I'm like, man, the one thing I love about my journey is that I learn every day from different people like yourself, like, our LSD crew, people at Ranch, people outside of the industry. Like, I keep learning, and that's what keeps me going. And I feel like I lost some of those lessons in the early stages because I was negotiating labor. So those two things, I think if I would have priced myself properly and I would have not negotiated labor, I think I would have done it a little bit faster, maybe.
So tell me a little bit. We talked before you're getting on. You were out in Arizona for this roofing company. What do you see in roofing that's very similar to HVAC? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? What's that look like for you?
I like the roofing bit. I like the roofing industry just because I'm genuinely doing the roofing sector just because I know that like 90 to 95% of the labor is Hispanic. 90 to 95% of the labor in roofing are subcontractors getting taken advantage of. 90% of the labor force is Hispanic, is Mexican, is hardworking people. And they're out there, trying to install roofs for contractors that are selling them for 20, 30, 40,000. They don't have health insurance. They don't have any benefits. They don't have 401k. They don't have anything. They don't have insurance. They don't have anything that we provide in the plumbing, air conditioning, electrical sector, and I kind of feel like I got to go help them too. Roofing is way antiquated, Chad. Like their processes aren't there. Their software is not there. Nobody really stands out in a brand recognition. Like nobody has really done anything in the roofing sector where we bring it up to 2023, 2024, right? I feel like they're stuck in the 70s and 80s. They're still out there, like, selling a roof and knocking on doors, selling a roof, and then grabbing, 4 or 5 laborers to go out there, install it, moving it to the next one. Like, they're not doing mass media. They're not doing social media. They're not doing billboards. Like, I don't remember ever seeing a badass roofing company on billboards at the Dodger Stadium, at the Diamondback Stadium. Like, I don't remember anybody really, really innovating that sector. And I'm driven and intrigued by innovation. Like, I want to see what we can do as a team. And it's not just me. I don't want to take full credit on why I'm in the roofing. But two things is innovation for sure in the 80s. So I want to see if we could start bringing it up to 2020, the 2000 era. And then number two, I want to make sure that like we can show private equity or investors or whoever that we can run the same model that we run in HVAC and plumbing, electrical, which is the turnover model, sending a technician, doing an inspection on the roof, providing different options for roof repairs, customer coming in and saying, well, how much is a new one? Sending a project manager to go in there and quote the bigger permanent solution, having labor come in, all in-house labor, providing in-house labor with 401ks, with full health insurance, with full insurances, uniforms, like all the things that they don't have right now, like a livable wage. Like some of these guys are working for $150 a day, bro, a day. Okay. And these are hardworking people. They're no different from me and you. They're working for $150, $200 a day. And I believe that's wrong. So I'm taking it as a personal goal to, number one, innovate it. But number two, educate the Hispanic community on the labor side of like, hey, you guys can get paid well too. And you guys can make a livable wage because what you're doing is a trade. What you're doing is a skill. What you're doing is a talent. It's art. They have a skill. So let's pay for that skill. Let's bring up the industry. Let's make sure we charge our customers properly. So then in return, we can take care of our employees.
That's awesome. Well, obviously, kind of falls in line with what you're doing and how you're doing it. Tell me a little bit about, like as you were building next gen, obviously to grow that fast, you've got to find people on your team that are maybe from outside the industry or just look at things differently. Tell me a little bit about building out that kind of leadership team and what that looked like for you. Obviously, probably lessons you're going to take into the roofing space from the jump and different things like that. But tell me a little bit about that build and what that looked like.
So yeah, I think this is probably like a little talent that I have. I don't like to compliment myself too much, but I think it's a little skill that I've like acquired throughout the years is identifying people in my journey that cover my weakness, especially when we're growing that fast, we got to start making more and more decisions. There's only so many decisions that I can personally make, that I'm seeing, that I can identify and actually make. And throughout the journey, I noticed that every time we would get to a certain stage and we would stay there, like we would get to, first year we did 9, second year we did 18.2, third year we did, 30, so I mean 24, then 32. Like I learned that, like, when I did get to that stage and I would stay flush in that stage. I wouldn't grow. Like I wouldn't see the rapid growth. I wouldn't see the hiring. I wouldn't see the mayhem going on. I learned that it was me slowing down the operation. It was actually me at fault, that I wasn't making enough decisions, seeing the operation properly. And that's when I started, like, identifying people inside the operation of, like, oh man, that guy, all the sales guys like that guy. That guy, like, as soon as that guy walks in the room, you could have a room full of 5, 10, 20, 30 sales guys. And as soon as that one guy walks in the room, or, that one gal walks in the room, everybody knows it's him. Like, everybody knows, they respect what he says in the meetings. They take his input. They're always asking him questions. So I would go up to him and I would be like, hey man, have you ever thought about being a leader in the team? Like, I know you've been doing sales and you're making good money. And I know it would be hard for you to leave that kind of money in order for you to come into our management team. But this is what the future would look like for you here at NextGen. And this is where you would help. And I think giving people a purpose inside the operation and identifying that purpose through those people, like, I think that's what helped me get to the growth that we got to, is making the decisions fast enough to be like, okay, I need a the sales manager that I have here now, people are not respecting them. They're not showing up to meetings. They're being sloppy with their closeout. Like, identifying that and being like, okay, now I need a higher quality or more accountable project manager. And this is for the tech department, install department, whatever department it is. I would identify who the leaders were in that room that people respected, because respect is huge in a leader. I would identify who they were and I would bring them up. I would bring them in myself, have a conversation with them, paint out a vision of what NextGen would look like in 3 to 5, 10 years from now. And then I would talk to them and joining that dream. And that's what I think helped me the most, is making sure, keeping an eye open for leaders inside the operation, or somebody that just might have came in and applied. And, I get a feedback from one of my managers. Hey, we had this applicant come in and, he's super skilled at this. He's worked here before. He's got manager skill, whatever it was. And then I would bring him in and I would, go based on my gut feeling. Hey, this is a good person. We need him in this part of the team. So building that management team is being aware of your weaknesses, but also being aware of where the strengths that you need. Right. So I think that's probably what helped me. One of the most things is always identifying weaknesses inside the operation and knowing that, hey, I'm not a sales guy. I'm not a technician. I'm not an installer. Like, I know that I can't drive 20, 30 sales guys and motivate them and role play with them. Like, I know that I'm not technical, right? I don't know how to work on those units. I know that. So I'm not going to learn, go through tech school and learn and all that. It's going to take 5, 10, 15 years for me to get to some of the levels that these guys are already at. So me knowing that I don't have time to waste, and hiring somebody or identifying somebody and giving them the opportunity will speed up the process. That's what helped me structure my 3 layers of management that I have now.
I think that's one thing that everybody that's, leading a company or whatever you're doing is looking for those things that you're not good at. They can be the things that you don't like to do, and finding and then getting the right people in the right positions. And sometimes you got people that are good players. They're just, you got them in the wrong position. And so moving them around and being strategic, I think, is critical when you want to build something like that. I think that you've got to find really great people to help get you there. No one got there on their own. That's for sure.
You're never going to know if that person is the right person for that right job until you give them a chance. Like, you support them, right? That's the main thing. You support them, you give them the tools and everything that they need to be able to succeed in that part of the business. And that's in that position of the business. What I noticed in all the, $1 to $10 million shops is that the owner's always the guy. He's the sales manager. He's the general manager. He's checking invoices. He's, running permits. He's talking to the office personnel. He's trying to, he's that guy that's trying to cover every sector of it, instead of taking a step back and being like, okay, cool, I need help. The reason why people are stuck where they're stuck is because they're afraid to ask for help, and they're afraid to make a decision to be able be able to get help. Like knowing that you can't be the sales manager for 10 sales guys, and knowing you can't be the install manager for 20, 30 installers and knowing that you can't do all those roles, and being aware of that is what's going to get you to go to 20, 30, 40 million. Once people know and identify that, hey, I'm not a sales manager, I need one. Identifying that is the key to going to the next level.
Well, I can't thank you enough for spending some time. I know you're busy. What as we kind of close out here, what's one thing that you would leave kind of listeners that, hey, they're listening to this podcast, they're looking for some nuggets. What can I do to get my company to the next level?
Stop being afraid to charge people more. Stop being afraid to charge people to be able to charge a customer appropriately so you can make money. And in return, you got to pay your people more. That's the one thing that everybody's missing in the industry. Most people are not priced out properly. They're priced out based on competition or feelings, or I think I could sell it for this much, or my project managers. This is a huge one. Listen to me. My sales guys can't sell it for more, or my sales guys, they bump into other companies that are selling it for 20, 30,000. We're selling it for 10, 12,000. My sales guys are comfortable there. We're not here for that. We're not here to run a business based on feelings. We're not here to run a business based on somebody else's talent. We're not here based on running a business based on somebody else's expenses and overhead and numbers. We're not here for that. We're here to make sure that when we charge people, we charge them, we provide enough value to charge the correct price to be able to be profitable on the bottom line. In return, you have to pay people more. Your sales guys are not going to want to, go out there and spend 3, 4, 5 hours building the value and charge a $15,000, $20,000 change out if you're still going to pay them 5%, if you're still going to pay them a flat commission. Put a performance plan that lets them, charge properly for the product that you're out there selling. In return, they get to make more, right? Because there's no project manager, no technician, no hustler out there that just wants to go and get paid a flat fee. They want to know that, hey, if I could spend 4 or 5 hours with a client and build a value and make them my friend and get in return that correct price for all of us to be profitable, I need to be able to make more. So if I could leave with one thing, you guys got to charge more, man. You guys have to charge more. I'm still seeing estimates from other companies, from project managers sending screenshots or pictures into our group message of like, hey, look at these 3 companies were 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 for change outs. And I'm like, guys, that's in 2005, man. You can't be charging that no more. You got to account for labor, for warranties, for equipment, for cost of goods, for insurances, for future growth, for rainy days. You guys got to account for things that you guys aren't even educated on. So I'm telling you guys right now, if one thing you guys could do is charge people more, build more value into charging more, and pay your people more. Because in return, if you have happy employees, they're always ready to show up for work. They're going to give it 100% in every single one of their calls. You're going to have happy clients. And if you have happy clients, it only goes to the bottom line. Guys, you guys got to price yourself properly. Stop undervaluing yourself.
The goal of this is to hopefully provide insight from, all of our experience that we can help people. I think at the end of the day, whether it's pricing yourself right, whether it's caring about your people, whether it's reaching out for help, all of these things are going to ultimately help you grow into what it is that you want to become. And I think that's so powerful. Again, Ismael, I appreciate you spending some time. I know I'll see you here in a couple of weeks, which I'm excited about, out there in sunny Arizona. But again, thank you so much, listeners. As always, take this information, act on it. That is how you're going to get results and keep growing out there.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to get connected, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. As always, keep growing out there.